What's up, guys? We're back with a Halo review, and I kind of told myself that I was done with this line, but I found this Spartan Yoroi figure in a store, and I couldn't help myself. I've even heard that it's probably not a good figure, so we're gonna find out. And it looks really cool. That's essentially what it comes down to. It looks cool, and I couldn't help myself, so here we are. So we've got this guy here in the standard Spartan collection style packaging. So you've got the figure there in the big window. You've got the the Halo logo all over it, and then on the back you've got product shots of the rest of the line. You've got a little loadout for what this figure comes with, and then a shot of the figure itself. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Spartan collection Spartan Yoroi figure. This is, well, this thing is a bit of a freaking mess. There is no other way to describe it. We are looking at an absolute awful figure. Like, I really can't sugarcoat this one in any way. And if you watch the channel enough, you know that I truly don't usually review a lot of stuff that I just plain don't like. 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, I'm buying something because I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it. Why else would I spend the money? This guy was pure chance. And, like I said, I kind of thought it was a bad figure anyway, just from the start, because of what I had already heard. And it turns out that those reports were correct, because every reason why I stopped buying these figures, odd articulation, floppy joints, things like that, are just exponentially worse on what is arguably probably the coolest looking figure in the line. Unless you just count the fact that Master Chief on his own looks great because it's Chief. This figure is probably the coolest looking one, at least to me so far, the coolest looking figure in the line, because it's so different. I mean, it's a samurai Spartan. What could be cooler, right? Well, it turns out that a figure that is functionally sound would be cooler. So let's see what this guy can do, which is almost nothing, and see how it moves. So we've got a head that cannot look up. It can look down decently, and then it does rotate. Arms go out at the shoulders that far. They will rotate. You've got a bicep swivel, but it's not a pure, full bicep swivel, because if you're standing him neutral, it hits the chest because of how high up it is. We've got insanely gummy joints for these elbows. I mean, look at that. They just want to move so easily. And then you've got double joints here, but because of how gummy they are, it is difficult to actually get them to work. So there you go. But they're also incredibly ugly. We've got hinges and rotation at the wrist, normal stuff there. Torso is almost non-existent. It's basically a statue here. It can shimmy side to side and forward that much. There's really nothing here. Move it too far, it's going to pop apart too. So it doesn't really do anything there. Legs go out that far. Legs are, unfortunately, super gummy, and everything from the waist down is an absolute train wreck too. So they go out that far, they kick forward, they don't really go backward. You do have a thigh cut up there. It's incredibly ugly, but it's hidden by the skirt pieces, so it's fine. The knees, though, look at this thing. That's the knee. Look at how huge this is. It's egregious. Not to mention the fact that it is incredibly gummy and incredibly floppy. So the entire weight of the figure is essentially resting on this upper knee joint, and as a result, this thing can barely stand. It can do the most vanilla of poses, and that's about it. I said this to somebody else, a gentle fart is going to knock this thing over. It's really unstable, so it's very difficult to use. I mean, look at this. It's just ridiculous. And then the ankles, well, you got toe articulation, because it's going to do it anyway. It's floppy. Toe articulation, which is pretty much unusable because of the rest of the foot. Ankle goes backwards, and then it goes forwards really good, and it rotates. This thing does not have an ankle rocker, so it cannot get into any poses, because once you try to get the legs outwards, the knee starts to bend in on it, or bend outwards. See? It's trying to it's basically like a broken leg. So it's very difficult to pose this thing. It is incredibly poorly made when it comes to its articulation scheme. Everything about this figure is form over function. He looks cool, but he does absolutely nothing. And what he can do is incredibly just hard to achieve. It's so difficult to pose this thing without, exposing how awkward all of these joints are. Now, all that said, it is form over function, and that very much holds true when it comes to how this guy looks. But it doesn't save this figure, not in the slightest for me. It does look really cool. The sculpt is really nice, but it gets in its way. So the sculpt is very much a prohibitive aspect of this figure. So if you're cool with him just like standing there like this, and you know what, he's probably only going to do that anyway. If you're cool with that, then this is probably going to be okay. But if you want him to look cool and do stuff, this is not the figure for you. There is a ton of paint on this guy. I mean, all this gold piping looks really good. All this sculpt works looks nice. All this, kind of samurai scale mail kind of armor looks really good. There's some of that telltale kind of silver dry brushing. It's not too heavy-handed on this guy, so I do like that. But there's just so much about this figure that looks cool, but just gets in the way. I mean, like this back piece here looks really awesome, but like this separation right here, it immediately hinders any articulation, null and void. It can't do anything because of that. It has no shimmy anywhere. It has no movement. It just doesn't do anything. So it's really, really awful that it looks so cool, but it does nothing. I mean, it's even got the vac metallized visor, which I absolutely love because it's super shiny. Again, the idea of a very samurai-inspired Spartan warrior should be like the license to print money in many respects. I mean, it looks awesome, but when it comes down to how this design translates into a figure, it's just not here when it comes to this particular figure. I do like the way it looks. I think they did a pretty solid job with the paint applications and the overall form and sculpt of the figure. But once it's all chopped up and given articulation, all of that goodwill is just gone. And then as far as accessories goes, this line has a decent amount, usually per figure, and this guy's not really any different. He's got a good amount of accessories, a good amount of hands as well. So to start with, you get a set of fists. So there's one on him here and another one here. We get a set of gripping hands, and these are specifically meant to grip the energy sword. So they've got a little notch cut out between the middle and the ring finger, but you get two of those. And then you get a two-finger pose hand, and then you get a set of trigger finger hands as well. Now you get a set of trigger finger hands because he does come with a gun, a very poorly painted disruptor. There's really nothing on it except for the wraps on the handle. The sculpt looks good, but it needs something. I think it needs a little silver on it or anything. Just a gentle dry brushing of something would have helped bring this out because the sculpt is actually really nice. The key accessory and the one thing that ratcheted up the cool factor and kind of pushed me to want to buy this guy despite myself telling myself otherwise internally, is that he comes with the energy sword. And this does look pretty cool. I mean, it's just clear plastic with some white and purple kind of tampoed over it, but it does look good. It's sized well, and of course he does hold it really nicely because his hands are tailored to fit this specific kind of grip. But it's not going to save this figure. He's essentially just going to stand on your shelf holding this or the gun, looking sort of cool in this awkward-ish vanilla pose. So yeah, probably don't buy this one. I mean, if you think he looks cool and you're happy with him just standing on your shelf doing nothing, then this is probably fine for you. It does look really cool. It's got a very unique design. This idea still works very nicely, but he moves worse than any figure I've touched in a very long time. It has absolutely no good choices when it comes to how this guy has been cut up to give that articulation. No range in the torso. Knees are an absolute abomination. No ankle rocker and gummy joints all over the place. Just makes for a bad figure. He looks cool, but he's not a fun toy. So that's going to do it for this look at the Spartan Yoroi from the Spartan collection. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.